now from Dan Ashworth's departure as Manchester United sporting director, just 5 months and 7 days after being appointed. Let's join our senior reporter, Melissa Reddy now. Melissa, lovely to see you. Look, this is not how things were supposed to go, is it, for Manchester United? What do we know about why Ashworth's tenure was so short?
Never, ever a quiet day at Manchester United. Questions will be raised over Ineos's leading off football operations at the club, because Dan Ashworth was sporting director for 5 months, which is shorter than the time it took for United to identify him, so heavily pursue him, battle Newcastle to get him through the door, to the tune of around £3 million in compensation. Now, my information is that there was a feeling that the structure just wasn't working and that Ashworth didn't really fit in with what the hierarchy were intending. I was told he's more passive than the other Ineos hires, and that Omar Barada, Jason Wilcox and Christopher Vival had actually applied themselves better and in keeping with what Sir Jim Ratcliffe had expected from them, but that hasn't been the case with Ashworth. I was also told by sources close to the departing sporting director that he actually felt that he was left out of a lot of key decision making, that some of his suggestions about collaborative working and how the culture of the club could be improved, that was ignored. And it was actually quite striking that it was Barada who ran point on the identifying of Ruben Amorim as the new head coach, and then went to Lisbon to conduct all the talks with Sporting and to get that deal over the line. That's usually the remit of a sporting director. So it's clear from both sides that it just wasn't working well. And I suppose United will say they have taken a speedy decision instead of letting things just run on and muddle away. But the inverse of that is, if you fought so hard to get Ashworth through the door, why are you letting him leave so quickly?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head there. You know, it's only as recently as Saturday, wasn't it, that Sir Jim Ratcliffe was given interviews about the current state of United. A day later, the man, as you say, he called it so publicly, out the door. What does that tell us, do you think, about Ineos's leadership, Melissa?
Well, the question will be asked, what due diligence did United do over Dan Ashworth? Because the guy that's walked through the door hasn't changed his approach, his demeanour, the way he wants to work, his vision for a football club, the fact that he's actually a very good organisational and operational head. He's not very hands-on, but he makes sure the structure is working correctly and goes into different departments, making sure the right people are in place, and it's really at the forefront of modern football, as we've seen where he's been at Brighton and the FA. The things he introduces have long-lasting impact. Now, it's not that he's ever been a transfer guru or at the cutting edge of analytics. That's never been Dan Ashworth, yet that's what it seems from what we're hearing from the club that Sir Jim Ratcliffe had wanted out of him. Also, this concept of him being passive, that's just his nature. It's who he is. He's not very confrontational or in your face. And one of the points that was actually made to me by people close to Ashworth is that even when he tried to get good data firms to come in and help United on things, that was vetoed by Sir Jim Ratcliffe, who himself had admitted that the club's analytics is nowhere near up to scratch. Now, it begs the question if United have clarity over what they actually want, because when you add this to the Erik ten Hag situation, you know, the Dutchman was so close to losing his job in the summer. United stick with him. They support him heavily in the transfer market, only to then sack him after 13 games, after continuously giving him public and private backing. Now, Ineos will say, listen, we're willing to back someone as much as possible until they show us that they're not the right fit. And then we don't wait around, we're ruthless, we make a quick decision. But I think amid the mass redundancies going on and the fact that there's this ticket price hike, there's this growing sentiment among supporters that it's ordinary people who continue to pay for the mistakes of the hierarchy, whether that was the Glazers initially and now Ineos. So it's up to them to prove that these are just teething issues as they try to get the right structure in place. You always have some sort of problems when there's a takeover or new people trying to implement their way. So is it that? Or is this going to be a habit, an unwanted one at that, for United?